The worst addiction for you is the one that you are not yet intelligent enough to navigate. Let me elaborate. Traditionally, we would look at things like cocaine, heroin, and similar as the worst things to get addicted to. While that's true physiologically, and if you actually did these substances, you're definitely going to be messed up. You're definitely going to screw your life up quite a bit. I don't think these are necessarily the most dangerous in terms of the majority of the population. Because the majority of the population is at least wise enough to never even touch these substances in the first place. So therefore, it never becomes a problem. For me, I'm more interested in the subtle addictions. And before I get into the main one, let me bring up the example of marijuana. Very much so, a lot of the culture is, well, it's not addictive, like heroin is, or it's not addictive this way, but man, it kind of sneaks up behind you, doesn't it? For those that have struggled with an addiction that with marijuana, they know this. It sneaks up behind you and it's ominous. It's in the background. It's insidious. But for me, I think the most insidious addictions that we have for everyone, the most insidious addictions floating around are the ones that aren't seen as addictions by the collective, by everyone that you're around. I'm talking about the phone. I'm talking about everything I like to call dopamine fishing, chasing those little dopamine hits in some shape, way, or form. Some people call this checking. That's one form of it, where you're checking your email, then your Snapchat, then your Instagram, and then you do it all over again, right? All that kind of stuff. For many, it's you guys scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on YouTube Shorts, or just YouTube. Whatever it is for you. You know that behavior. Maybe it's shopping online. I like to couch this all in a catch-all term called dopamine fishing. And what I have found is that these dopamine fishing activities are the most dangerous because they're traditionally not seen as something that is a big enough problem to address. It's like a thorn in your side that you won't pull out because it's not hurting enough. You're sitting on a nail, but you're not getting off of it because it's not hurting enough. And there's a story attached to that of a dog sitting on the nail. What I've noticed is that you can definitely get fooled into thinking something is not a problem when it's not collectively seen as something that negatively impacts the masses, let's say. What I mean is the collective is not yet conscious of how much of a negative impact chasing dopamine hits has on someone's life. And think about it for yourself. Very honestly, how much time have you wasted? How much dopamine have you spent? How much have you fried your dopamine circuits? How many days have you wasted scrolling? This was not a problem that humans had 5,000 years ago. It was not a problem that we had 50 years ago, for that matter. I think the most dangerous thing someone can tell you is like, well, yeah, you wasted your day watching movies or on YouTube or TikTok, but at least you're not, at least you're not like drinking alcohol, at least you're not, smoking weed, at least you're not doing hard drugs, whatever, or, at least you don't have like an extreme sex addiction or whatever. It's like, yeah, but I feel like this should also be treated at that level. And what I've found is this reality that this is a real problem for many people. This is starting to rear its head. I'm starting to see communities with people that have extreme technology addiction and chasing those dopamine hits. And I think the worst, if you struggle with this, if you've wasted several hours of your day just reading random articles, you know that you don't want to feel this way. Like, especially after the 3 hours of binging or after the 5 hours of binging memes or whatever, binge watching Netflix or whatever. You know you hate that feeling. But how much are you making it a problem in your mind? Because if you don't see it as a big issue, then you're just going to let it happen again and slide under the radar again. And then you're going to give this negative habit your silent approval. You're not going to set any boundaries with this habit, this negative habit, and you're just going to let it walk over you again and again. I think the biggest traps when it comes to distraction is the ones that we do not take seriously. If something takes an hour away from your life and you really didn't really add to your life, like maybe it made you laugh or whatever, but really you end up coming out of that hour session less fulfilled, not as recharged, even depleted. At what point do you say, this is enough? How much do you have to go down the rabbit hole? How much? That's something I've noticed. Don't let these seemingly small addictive behaviors grow and grow and grow until next thing you know, you've wasted thousands of hours in your life doing what you don't want to do. And fundamentally, all this dopamine chasing activity comes from a lack of intentionality in your life. It also comes from a lack of understanding how you recharge. It comes from a lack of self-knowledge of building healthy habits that rejuvenate you. A lot of times we think about, okay, what are we going to do to relax? What are we going to do to recharge our batteries? And a lot of times the default answer is going for a meal and eating this high-calorie food, or drinking this alcohol, or going out and doing this party thing, or going on a bender, or whatever it is. And for those that are super into becoming focused in their life, where you want to get on that grind set, here's something to remember. The great ones are masters of their work and rest cycles. Do you actually schedule in conscious rest for yourself so you don't burn out, so you actually rejuvenate, recharge your batteries? So, to wrap things up here, I want you to notice when you lose an hour here, lose an hour there to these distractions, why is that acceptable for you? Why do you accept that? Why do you allow several hours of your day to be taken from you? Why do you let that behavior into your life? What else could you be doing that is more fulfilling? That actually recharges you? And on that note, how much do you actually spend time intentionally recharging yourself? When was the last time you intentionally said, this is my recharge time? And it's not some dopamine chasing activity where it's very intentional, it's very planned, and it's healthy. When was the last time where you're actively engaged with it? Because, fun fact, when there's two types, let's say, of leisure. So there's a leisure where you just set it and forget it and just it's non-participatory. So like, watching a movie. And then there's leisure where you have to participate. The leisure that you participate in is actually going to be more rejuvenating, whether it be working on a passion project or playing a sport, right? Something that you're actively engaged in, and it's bringing more out of you. Because also we have to switch our paradigm that we have a tank and it's just going to get emptied more and more throughout the day. Rather, your life expands the more you allow yourself to expand in each area of your life. You work out harder in your life, right? Work out more routinely. You're going to have more energy. You put more love into your relationships, you're going to have more energy for everything else. You put more work into studying what you really want to be studying. Not the school that whoever signs you to, but this is my thing that I want to be working on and I'm putting my time towards it. Right? Because all that raises your self-esteem, raises your sense of self-worth. Or maybe it's a meditation practice. How much are you investing in yourself? Some people it's walking in nature. At what point do you say no to these subtle addictions that aren't even seen as addictions? At what point do you exercise your own authority, your own sovereignty, and say, no, this is a real fucking problem and you don't even see it yet? See, the thing is, collectively, dopamine chasing activities is not seen as a massive problem yet. This is something that has to come online. Just like how cocaine was not seen as a big problem until we had a whole bunch of people doing cocaine, right? Because it was legal at one point, right? And then we saw the consequences. Likewise, I feel like there's going to be a lot more awareness around, and we're already seeing it today, a lot more awareness around these dopamine fishing activities, these dopamine chasing activities. It's a real problem, and it's a sign of something deeper within yourself you're not looking at. What are you avoiding? What are you procrastinating on? Notice that. So, with that, The one takeaway I want is, I want you to think, where are you going to draw the line with these activities that waste your time, that take your time away from you? No one else is going to see it as a problem as much as you make it a problem. As much as no one else is going to set that boundary as much as you set that boundary. So with that, thanks for watching.